Just well, now we're on YouTube. Hi, everybody.
Hello. Hey.
Welcome to my Patreon hangout. It's me and some of the usual gang of dipshits and a few, a first timer and a couple who don't always make it in. So, anyway, we're just we're just making the best of the quarantine.
Speak for yourself. I still have to go into work on Monday, or at least they're expecting me to. But they gave me the option to use my PTO, and I'm fortunate enough to have plenty that I can do that in case it happens to me. But yeah, I'm one of those essential businesses, but it's slow. But that gave me plenty of time to be on YouTube on my computer because my manager doesn't care.
Can I just say, and I don't get to say this to you very often, Geek, thank you for your service.
Yeah, it's interesting too because my wife is a social worker, and yet I mean it came down last week that absolutely she's if she is going to be working, she's going to be working from home. One exception on Fridays when she has to go in because the mechanics of how things are working. There's certain things she has to do in the office. That's one day out of the week. And the other thing is that, as you probably know, Mike DeWine, our governor, basically shut down Ohio through April the 6th. And it's beginning to sound like you can stretch that to April the 20th.
Yeah, I think a lot of the shutdowns are going to wind up being longer than originally scheduled.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm going to skip my birthday. Seems a lot of people are going to have to.
I'll drink for you. Like I already said to you yesterday, I'll drink for you in honor of your birthday.
I don't drink.
I put up a stop.
I don't drink.
I still will drink for you.
Actually, I branched out a little bit. There was this, before the things locked down, there was a loudspeaker demonstration at the high-end store that my best friend works at. And one of the things they did as a side thing was they had a bourbon tasting. And I had a chance to try, among other things, something called Elijah Craig, which was very good. And I decided to sink some money into that. So in addition to being a single malt lover, I think I'm starting to turn into a bourbon lover.
I always like bourbon, even though it's as harsh as it is and something like that. It depends on the right kind. Jack Daniels, okay, if it's there, I'll drink it. Now I'm now used to like any cheap liquor that like if it's there, unless it's like actual rubbing alcohol, I'll drink it. But even then, I maybe will try it.
The big difference here is that it's a bit more alcoholic than what I'm ordinarily used to. Most single malts come in at somewhere around 80 to 80 some odd proof. And this is up at 94. So it's a little bit more aggressive, but it also has some nice character on it.
It is the perfect time to discover some new incredible.
Yes, we are live, Isaiah.
Yeah, because it's like I'm hearing everyone talking, or it's like delayed. So what's going on?
Oh,
it's always a delay. There's always a 30-second delay.
Do you have the video playing on YouTube? If you have the video playing in another window or another tab on YouTube, you might want to mute it because that might be what you're hearing. If you're hearing the delay. Yeah.
Oops.
It's okay.
It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
It happens to everybody.
Yeah, Isaiah, you might also want to see if you can sneak your mic gain down a little bit because you're breaking up in places. It's definitely distorting.
You have like headphones, Isaiah, because that can also like help. And then we're not here. Oh, yeah, you have them in your mic now. Okay.
I do have, I have headphones. I'm still a '90s guy with technology, so I don't.
Oh, that's fine.
I don't really do much of this like YouTube stuff at all. So I'm just
right there with you.
That sounds a lot better right there.
Yeah.
I got VHSs, so you know.
And I just noticed the Clueless poster behind you too. That's
yes!
That's a 90s marker.
So, I got cool intentions on too. So
man, now you're talking.
A totally 90s kid. You need a sunglasses and a backwards cap. You got those caps in backwards.
He's got VHS. I've got Laserdisc.
Put on something. One of the stranger results of this pandemic. Rival monkey gangs fighting
I saw that
in Thailand. They've become so dependent on human tourists feeding them, table scraps that now they they don't know what to do, so
Oh, dear.
they're forming these little cliques and going to war with each other over what garbage is left.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping the monkeys take over.
I saw this. I saw someone post this saying like, there's a second part to this that's even crazier. So I saw someone say like, well, never seen monkeys do that before. That's pretty strange. And then someone said, well, I don't know. I once saw a monkey use a dead frog as a fleshlight, so I think that.
Have you noticed that the air is cleaner now? Now that most people are staying home, the air is cleaner.
One thing that I got introduced to recently.
I'm still stuck on Nick saying a monkey using a frog as a fleshlight. I'm still
I know, when I saw that tweet,
I'm gonna need a minute on that.
That's a vivid mental image.
I needed a moment too when I first read that tweet. I was just.
We might need an explicit tag on this Hangout.
Yeah, right.
Tisk, tisk, tisk.
I'm so sorry.
As though anything
That's
we've
great.
done to this point is anything less than R-rated to start
That's
with.
true. Like
Well,
this.
I mean, I showed off my flashlights before on the previous Hangout as well.
no.
So this time, I'm
I
not the
love
one who
that-
first bring it up.
I love that
Thanos flashlight.
What have I done?
there's always something within arm's reach of Geek. Somebody makes some
I have two
random
of them.
reference, and he has whatever it is. He has it within arm's reach, and it's on camera within seconds.
What have I done?
There's my porn right here in arm's
Okay,
reach
we don't. That's
too.
cool. That's good though.
That's cool.
We don't need to. We don't need the. We don't need the tour. It's cool.
I'm so
Oh
sorry,
my God,
everyone.
That's great. No, it's perfect. It's great.
I was going to say, one of the things that I've discovered in the midst of all of this, everybody knows about cat videos. How many here know about owl videos?
I have. I've seen some
As in
videos
pet
of
owl.
Yes.
And there's one guy in particular, I believe, lives in Japan who has this beautiful pet owl that hangs with him and, does this, that, and the other. And he refers to it as a cat with wings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can see that they do act fairly cat-like.
Yeah.
They have this
They-
poise about them.
they- They are
they're judging you.
uncaring,
I always thought
uncaring
owls were
predatory
like
monsters.
kinda-
Yeah.
I always thought they were like wanting to like attack you or something because they look at you with those eyes and it's like, I better stay the fuck away.
Yeah. They're the most interesting birds because they're the only birds that when they look at you, they actually seem to be seeing you. You know what I mean? Like other birds will look at you and then look away, and it's like they just sort of register your presence, and then but
They're
owls
very
will actually
human-like.
look at you.
Well, owls are reputed to have an excellent vision, especially night vision, of course. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of, it's not quite a given, but you also have to wonder, I'd be interested in knowing if anybody studied owls for their native intelligence, because I'll bet it's pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
It's so
imagine.
funny.
No, I think everyone's on. If I can interrupt, my friend Phoenix of the channel Phoenix Rising 87 has messaged me. Her link is down there in the doobly doo with like everyone else's like charity links. But like, give money to whoever you want to, but at least share around the links as well to help her out. But like the reason why Phoenix needs money by tomorrow, she needs at least $190 to put down payment down for a low income apartment tomorrow. And so I put the PayPal pool link for Phoenix in the live chat just now or a while ago at the beginning of the Hangout. So please give Phoenix money.
I don't mean to brag, but I'm a custodian in Tallahassee where I live, and even on that at work today, I'm still getting paid. I'm not bragging, but it just shows you that. I'm actually weathering this crisis pretty well. No offense to anyone.
I think it goes to show who really is an essential worker.
Yeah, it's
I
not
mean,
the CEOs and bankers
yeah.
that make the world go
Yeah.
around. It's the little people.
The so-called little people, yeah.
labor.
Cockroaches. We're the cockroaches. The
Yeah.
dinosaurs.
The low skilled workers.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
low skilled workers.
Yeah.
The dinosaurs are dying, and now the mammals, like the minks, are taking over. So
Exactly.
That's what's going on right now.
Well, if people who's dying first, it's seriously going to be the disabled people because like they're pulling ventilators from the disabled people who actually did need those and give them to the able-bodied people who didn't.
Never mind these dumbass Republicans who are, insisting that, the elderly need to give way to the younger people and all that. I heard that. And I was,
It's awfully.
tempts you to go out with a ball bat and go, hello.
It's
Right.
still.
I seriously just hear this Palpatine voice going like, "Let the poors die."
It's like
well,
that.
yeah, that's capitalism.
It's like that Mitchell and Webb sketch where they're like, "Have we tried killing all the poor?"
Mm-hmm.
But they're actually doing it. Actually, they're actually floating it, and it's like, "Oh
A
no,
modest
that was a
proposal.
joke, you all. That was a joke, you all. No,
A modest proposal.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
what I think is funny about that is, like, I remember in the Bill Nye Ken Ham debate, one straw man that Ken Ham said was, "If evolution is true, why don't we just let old people die? They cost money."
Right.
And now evangelical Christians a couple years later are like, "Let old people die for money."
Yeah, seems like you just want old people to die anyway.
It's nice that socialism is not like the fact that people are getting 1,200 in the mail in a few weeks, and how like if Obama would have done this, Fox would have just said, he's trying to give people free money, and it's like,
oh yeah.
And get this, I don't know.
That,
socialism is good when Republicans do it. Socialism is fine, but when Democrats do it, it's the end of the universe and all that stuff. So
Venezuela.
But what we've learned is that the currency of capitalism is blood.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, and
capitalism.
On top of everything else, my wife just picked this up for me. On those checks when they come out, Dear Donnie wants his signature on them.
Yes, I saw that headline.
That darn stock market is like, the line demands a blood sacrifice. We must pay penance. We must appease the capitalism gods.
I mean, if you talk to any Marxist, they always say, well, this is why I can never understand the sex workers exclusive reactionary feminists. They're not radical, they're reactionary, the swerves. Because like they're selling their bodies. It's like, we're all selling our bodies, we're all selling our labor. None of us, they're just like selling it for like sex.
What's misogyny? That's the thing about it.
Yes, it is.
Misogyny. It's you're a whore, things like that. So that's why that's the problem.
Yeah.
The thing that's happening now, the Republicans are basically suggesting death panels. And I'm thinking, wait, what happened to the death panels that Obama was supposed to put out there? Or rounding everyone up into FEMA camps? Whatever happened to Agenda 21, the Hobbit homes? Oh, right. It's like Alex J. These guys were making it up the whole time.
Coronavirus will sort them all out.
Yeah, exactly.
And coronavirus isn't just going to do that. I mean, lately I've been hanging out over at Hemet Mehta's place, and you wouldn't even begin to guess the number of headlines that say church meets together, and now they got different people infected with coronavirus. It's not just once, it's not just twice or three times. I have seen more stories like that you could shake a stick at.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about Darwin Awards, boys and girls? Here we go.
Yeah. Don't gather in large groups.
Well, you know what it is? They
like
think that the virus
counts.
only... You know what they think it is? They think that the virus mostly targets Democrats.
Yeah.
That they're special. They'll be exempt.
Oh, talk about conspiracy theories. I had to unfriend somebody on Instagram because they thought the virus was being spread through 4G cell phone towers.
Excuse me, it's 5G. Hello?
Get with the program.
And they're Christians. They're Christians who believe that. I've met Christians who are flat earthers, moon landing deniers. It's like you can still be religious and not be a complete dumbass.
For sure.
I have a coworker that does actually literally believe that the moon landing must have been fake because we never been back again. I don't have that conversation with him anymore because apart from that, we actually get along quite well.
So if you go to St. Louis and then you never go back, you start to doubt if it's really there. What the hell does that have to do with anything? I was in China once, but I haven't been there for about 40 years. I'm starting to think maybe it wasn't real.
The problem, no, I'm not there. I cannot see you.
My thing about that whole thing is we don't have to be their friend. People are like, well, you can still be friends with a flat earther. No, I can't because you
have to be.
You reject a completely the way that you just completely are just like, oh, the earth is flat. Well, it's like, well, then I can't be around you because
right.
If you're using science to make a video about the earth is flat, it's like you're using science. So why are you now trying to describe this worldview as, well, earth is flat, so science must be wrong? It's like, where I don't agree with this idea that you have to be friends with everyone who you disagree with. I'm friends with Republicans and we disagree, but we're still friends. She's actually my surrogate mother in a way, but I don't have to be friends with a moon landing denier or a homophobe or anything, because I just don't have to.
Yeah, on the other side of that, though, I just saw a wonderful video with Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez doing a solid takedown on the weaponization of, religious right principles used for exclusivism and the whole business that's been going on with the Trump administration lately. And she expresses herself that she is indeed a woman of faith, but she won't see her faith used as a matter of, tearing the United States apart. It's on YouTube right now. It is brilliant.
I mean, like the connection between religion and nationalism has already been reserved before in a big, long, a book by Rudolf Rocker and another author, Nationalism and Culture. They brought it up in that book. I'm not expecting everyone to read an 800-page book, but don't worry, Audible Anarchist has an audio version of that book that you can listen to as you grind JRPGs or MMOs or do something else. So because it's a big league.
Just think of the fact that religion in the U.S. during the Cold War, it was a religious war. I know people want to. Yeah. I know people like Richard Dawkins will say that it's not. And the Cold War was religious. It was we're fighting the communists and who are atheists, and then let's fund the Afghan. The Mujahideen who will become, the Taliban, because they are fighting the evil, infidel, atheist Soviets, and that's how we got, the Taliban, and that's how we got eventually 9/11, because Bin Laden was like, they're, the infidels are in the Holy Land and all that kind of stuff, and so
I'll tell you,
and one more thing, when it comes to nationalism and religion, it's mostly from. No offense to the Caucasians in the audience, but it's mostly framed through a white narrative of, we are the good Christian Europeans going to, sell Jesus to the world, through the blessings of Mariah Carey and capitalism and Pepsi and all that stuff. So it's
for sure.
As it comes to that,
victors, honestly,
I have been. I already read the book, but I've been going through the audiobook of our buddies here, One Nation Under God, how corporate America invented Christian America. It's a brilliant book, and it's great to listen to. The narrator, I don't know his name right off the get-go, is good. But if you want to be pissed off, listen to that book, because the multiple thousand ways that these people back in the 40s and the 50s says, oh, sure, let's let religion into the government. It's not going to hurt anything. Sure it will. Everyone who believes that, stand on your head.
The thing about even for someone like me who is an atheist and is relatively takes a relatively dim view of religion in general, it's disappointing to see how easy it has been for the Trump administration to exploit the religious faith of, at least of a certain segment of American Christians. Not everybody is falling for it, but there's a certain segment of super right-wing conservative American Christians who just eat this shit up with a spoon, and it could not be more transparent. The guy goes to CPAC and hugs the American flag. This is a joke. This is condescending.
But that's what they're not very, they're shallow people. They're an easy mark.
It's you're absolutely right, but it's still dismaying in a way. It's you can't possibly be falling for this. This should be insulting to your intelligence.
Yeah, you say they can't possibly be falling for this, and they say hold my beer.
Let Alex speak next.
I do want to point out, though, let's not say white nationalism is entirely religious. Richard Spencer is an atheist. There is a white supremacist undertone within the atheist community. It's not the majority, but it's there. And we can't ignore that. And I'd rather stand beside a religious person who supports equality, feminism, LGBT rights, Black Lives Matter, before I'll stand beside an atheist who won't.
Oh, 100%.
Honestly, I would be with But honestly, I'll be with I would stand next to like a pagan more than like any like a fundamentalist Christian for sure. And like pagans are definitely religious. Also, many of them kind of like happen to be also anarchists, so there's also that. But like, go ahead, Isaiah.
Isaiah, go ahead.
No, I was saying, well, see, that's why I left the atheist movement because of David Silverman, because I went to one of his lectures. And, he's saying that all religious people are dumb and stupid. When I'm like, I've met religious people who are very smart. We just don't agree. They may have different views on, gay marriage. And, okay, that's fine. But they're also very into the sciences. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, David Silverman is like, all religious people are dumb and stupid. Let's draw the Prophet Muhammad. It's like, you're not really communicating your ideas if you're just going to insult people. Now, of course, some people should certainly be insulted. Like Laura Ingraham is an idiot, but so
yeah. My personal focus continues to be the whole business of state-church separation, and I think that's one place where we can really get some, create some allies and create a much larger group. In that, there are plenty of more liberal Christians and Jews and I'm sure Muslims as well who are concerned with the whole issue of state-church separation. And with that as our focus, I think it's much more viable in the long term.
Yeah, and the way Silverman used to frame the argument was really, I always thought was very counterproductive to that, because you should be, instead of characterizing all religious people as dumbasses, or holding dangerous beliefs or whatever, and painting them all with a broad brush and pushing them away, you should be saying, hey, if we can pull together on church-state separation and a couple of other issues that we have in common, like we can create a better society for everybody. But you don't do that.
Oh yeah, it's not the religious that are the problem. It's the anti-secular.
Yeah, exactly.
That are the problem.
You can be as religious as you want. Just don't use it as an excuse to mistreat people, and don't try to impose it on others.
Here's the thing that's so dangerous is that the Republican Party for like 40 or 50 years now has marketed itself, and they're the kings of marketing. I don't think the Democrats are anywhere near as good at marketing themselves or making their case.
Yeah, no.
They try so hard to tell you, like, when they go low, we go high. I'm like, no, go low. Hit them in the below the belt, please.
Go low, for God's sake.
But yes, the Republicans for decades, they have marketed themselves as the party of Christianity. If you're a Christian, you better be a Republican. What, you want to drink baby's blood? You want to engage in satanic orgies and whatnot? And that's the thing they say about Democrats.
Don't knock it till you tried it,
Alice. Heal.
Don't knock it
till
you
is that
tried
secret? Oh.
Check me on this. But
evangelical, though. It's like, we try and warn people as former evangelicals of this nationalist movement in the Christian right. And I have progressive Christians getting on me saying, well, no, not all Christians are like that. And my response is, I'm not talking about you.
Right.
Well, man, come on.
And it's also, if I may interject right quick, it's also, because I live in the South, I live in Florida, and it's like, I was raised in the Black church, the AME church, and it's the political tones are barely even there. There's civil rights issues that they talk about, but it's not as political as say a white church. And and when you go to a white church and you see the bumper stickers on the car, you can tell this is a political place because it has a sticker, like an Air Force sticker that says peace the old-fashioned way, and it's a B-52 because God was in favor of bombing people with nukes, I guess. And it's they always say 11 o'clock a.m. is the most segregated time in America. That's kind of true. Even if it's like thought process, it's still a very we are. These people, we believe this, we believe that's how our parishioners should act, and so in the week, when we're not at church, let's take that and then subjugate the world with our beliefs. You don't really hear that much in the Black church. You really don't. So
because they've never been in a position to do that.
Right. It's never. It's always. I remember one sticker that said, God is not a Republican or a Democrat, and they worded it so obvious to say that God actually is a Republican, or at the very least, God believes in what we think God believes in. So it's
it's because these people they don't understand these apolitical types. They don't understand that they are extremely political. It's just that those politics are invisible from where they're standing because for them that's the norm. That's just how things are supposed to be. It's everyone who's being who's making it a contention that's being political. Yeah. That's how they see it.
Supporting the status quo is political? Weird.
Nuh-uh. The only true racists are the people who point out the racism. You're the real racist.
Yeah. I've thought for a long time that the most harmful people to the political process are the people who claim to be not political and keep recommending that everybody just do nothing. And there are an awful lot of those people where they're just like, I'm tired of hearing about it. Can't we just talk about something else? Everything's fine. Let's just not worry about it. Yeah. And it's like, you are the worst. You are like an anchor around the neck of society.
Scared shitless of change.
Yeah.
Because honestly, even people like that have the opposite view, at least some of them you can reach. But somebody who immediately shuts down the moment you mention politics, how do you reach that person?
Yeah.
Or there's the people who kind of just sit off the sidelines and cast stones at people actually trying to do something.
Yeah, that's the worst. It's like any kind of activism is looked down on.
Yeah, because you're going against the status quo because the status, it's kind of like the idea of the benevolent dictator. It's like if he's keeping my lights on, he's feeding me, he's keeping the bad guys at bay. Why do I need to speak out against them? And that's what the Republicans have convinced an entire group of working class people. It's work, make money. Don't enjoy the moment, and most of all, don't criticize the system that's taking your money away, that's destroying the middle class, that's destroying the environment, because we are going to give you this kind of socialist, here's your money, here's your food, just shut the fuck up and go about your way. So
don't question.
Right. Yes, that's actually something that Noam Chomsky has pointed out. He would say this in lectures, and one of the opening letters that for George Orwell, by the way, who's a socialist and an anarchist, in the opening letters to prefaces to 1984, it wasn't published until much later on. The part of the reason for Newspeak was that if something is so out of the Overton window, as it were, something so out of the norm, it should dare not speak its name. You are limited with the words you can use, and if you cannot speak it, then you can probably not even think it. And that's the worst part, where you just but this is common sense. It's just so many things are common sense. One must work in order to eat, or we all know that if the people who work the hardest deserve to earn the more money, and if that's true, then I guess Jeff Bezos is the hardest working person that there is, and so on and so forth.
When they borrow the term "he who does not work shall eat," because I hear Republicans and Christians say that, isn't that something Lenin said? Am I getting that wrong there?
I have to look that up, but it wouldn't surprise me, but I'll look that up to confirm, because maybe Stalin said that, and yes, I have my problems with Stalin. However, it's just there were some things that the USSR did right. Hey, they won the space race. It was only America, and they was just went on the moon, and that was it.
Yeah, well.
But that's me being an anarcho-syndicalist and an actual socialist and actual communist.
The thing that drives me crazy about when people bring up Newspeak to talk about, when they try to apply it to the left and adding new words, it's no, you've clearly not read Orwell. Newspeak was the complete opposite. Newspeak is when you erased words and then tried to have to fill in the context for, to get that basic idea without that word being there anymore.
Yeah, because that word is double plus ungood.
Exactly.
It's like these religious freedom bills that are rights to discriminate against people. It's
exactly.
It has nothing to do with what it's claiming it is. It's all to do with bigotry.
Yeah, and also, when it comes to religious freedom, it's not religious freedom for our group. It's, if a bunch of Muslims made this bill, that it would obviously be
tyranny and Sharia law, but we can have our own because we're the status quo. So
yeah.
Well,
for religious freedom,
it's just Christian Sharia law.
For religious freedom, read religious privilege.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The rules don't apply to we who make the rules. The rules apply to everybody else.
I just have something to say, and I have to phrase it very delicately because it is a complicated matter. Then I'm basically going to shut up for the rest of the stream. But look, I hope Bernie wins, but if he doesn't, fine. I will vote for Biden in the general election.
Me too.
For the sake of harm reduction. But I'm not going to be proud that I did it. I'm still going to be ashamed that it came to that point because I see it as an indictment of like how we have just failed utterly to move the needle. But the thing that bugs me, like I understand that people who say, well, I'm just not going to vote at all. I understand that demonstrates a form of privilege. But there's another form of privilege I see the other way from the back to normal types. The people who say, I'm voting for Biden because I want to go back to normal. I just want this daily Trump madness to stop. No more tumult. I just want to go back to tending my garden in my nice sheltered white suburb. I'm like, normal in 2016 sucked. There was nothing normal about unarmed black men being gunned down in the streets. There's nothing normal about the income inequality, climate change, student loan debt, any of that. I don't want to just go back to that and settle. I want things to get better.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree with
I mean, sadly, the first bit that was normal. It's just it wasn't normal that everyone had cell phones and social media allowed people to get the stories about people being gunned down
when I
all
say
the time.
when I say it wasn't normal, I mean it wasn't
was the
right.
first viral video about police brutality. It was Rodney King.
True. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I just mean it wasn't right, or that it shouldn't be considered normal.
Right.
Exactly.
It was normal, but it shouldn't have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, part of the problem is, there's a normal that is, a function of its own Overton window, and that Overton window got slammed to the right in 2017 when a certain dumbass became president.
Yeah.
And we're going to be very slowly but very surely pushing it back to the left. That's going to take work.
I think the Overton window did move in like 2016 for sure with like Trump's presidential election. From where I see it, or where I see it now, it moved to the right, but it didn't like hard shift to the right. It just moved more to the right a bit gradually because like Hillary Clinton has like said that like, hey, the problem with like Europe with all of these like far right nationalism rising up is the immigrants coming into like Europe and stuff like that. So from where I see things over here as the actual anarchist, over here, there is Hillary Clinton, like John Kerry, Al Gore, and now Joe Biden yes, Joe Biden is better than Trump. I'm not going to deny that, but I say that Joe Biden is just better than Trump by inches, not by miles.
Yeah,
I'd give him more than inches.
Yeah, I'd give him more than inches, but
Biden,
I'll say miles.
Biden understands the function of government as service.
Yeah.
Trump only sees his position as someplace where he can be served, where he can get attention, where he can promote himself, and that's all that he sees. He does not see the function of government in any meaningful fashion.
You guys hear me? To wrap up what I was
can hear
saying,
you, Joe.
I'm sorry. I just
go
wanted
ahead,
to wrap up what I was saying before. All I'm saying is that for these people who are willing to just settle for that, it's like, okay, Trump's gone. And then crickets, that's it. What was normal for them, it just demonstrates such privilege that they apparently had such a cushy life, that they were relatively insulated from all this stuff before. Again, the kind of people who consider themselves apolitical, who just don't want to have to talk and hear about politics all the time.
Oh, right. And I agree with you. I think that's definitely an issue, certainly. And again, I guess I'd say, in both cases, the people who are apolitical, because again, most things don't affect them. But what pisses me off, I guess I'm bothered more by the people who are political and who don't vote, because they kind of know better. They are clued in. They know that things are messed up and that where we are is not good. But basically, it's kind of like, when people make that thing of, I ran into some people last night, again, same thing. And what bothered me, okay, look, obviously people are going to support whoever they think is the better candidate. I get that, of course. But what they were doing, they weren't just saying, okay, hey, look, Bernie's a better choice than Biden. That's a fair argument. But they're basically like, they weren't even stumping for Bernie. They were just like, let's tear the ass out of Biden. And I'm like, well, what purpose does that serve? So if you basically go out, if you go out of your way to basically make the argument that Trump and Biden are effectively the same, and look, you maybe on certain issues you might be able to make the case, but how are progressive values served by getting making the presumptive nominee weaker so that it makes it more likely that Trump wins? I mean, I don't see how that, because my thing was, and that was to me tremendous privilege, because I'm like, well, what about LGBTQ rights? What about women's rights? What about minority rights? What about the environment? Even if the economic issues and even if the military and political issues, just say Biden makes no progress. I don't think that's true, but just pretend he makes no progress. There's still these other things, and there's still the courts, the Supreme Court, and all the district courts. And I'm like, well, so if you know better and you know that we need to be moving more to the left, and you're basically going to say, well, I'm not getting my choice, so fuck them all. That to me, it's kind of like the people who, like when Europeans, attacked, the U.S. past history because we had slavery, which so did most of the European countries one way or another. They engaged in the trade if they didn't have the slaves at home. Were the people who their countries after they outlawed slavery in their own country or in their own colonies didn't outlaw the trade, and so a lot of the Americans that were doing trade with French and Dutch and British. And so meanwhile, they had the moral fiber to say, yes, slavery is wrong, but not enough to say, oh, and you know what, you can't sell it to people who don't understand that.
Right.
So to me, if you know better and you still do it, you're worse.
Okay, so well, I just want to go back to why am I bringing up the flaws of Joe Biden? I think that's the same reason why I'm not against someone bringing up the flaws of Bernie Sanders. Fair enough. I don't want to I think it's fair for people to know who they're voting for. Like Joe Biden, we all seen the videos of him being really handsy with women stiffening their hair and stuff like that. And there's the sexual assault case that has been brought up against him. So if someone's not going to
sexual harassment.
Right. Sexual harassment, but if someone's not going to vote, I'm correct. I'm saying corrected. But if someone's not going to vote for Biden because of that, I hope they're not in a swing state. But in other states where it's just super red, super blue, I'm in Washington State. I don't vote for the president. The electoral colleges vote for it, and 3 of the electorates in Washington State did not vote for Hillary in 2016 when my state went blue. So.
Right. Well, and the thing is, the other difference too, Geek, is that what you're doing is you're comparing and contrasting. You're saying, hey, look, Biden has a bunch of flaws. I think Bernie has fewer flaws. I think he's a better candidate. So you are using that to compare and contrast two options that we have on our side.
So especially when you compare him against a candidate who has nothing but flaws.
Right.
Who wanted to?
It's totally fair to say Bernie's better because X, Y, and Z. Biden does this that's wrong and Bernie doesn't. That's a perfectly reasonable thing, and you should do that. But these guys were literally because they're like, oh, Biden's a racist. I'm like, well, he is. He has some checkered past. I don't think it's accurate to say he's currently a racist. He may have been at one time. But again, if my choice is, we know Trump is a racist, if it ends up being choice of Biden the racist versus Trump the racist, then I look at other criteria. So the racism no longer is this you have two people that are equally racist and they're running against each other. For me, racism is no longer a criteria because I'm getting a racist either way. Yeah. So now I got to look at other things.
Yeah, there's also the matter of the degree of racism, which there's no comparison between the two of them.
Exactly. Again, I can't speak to any of the people who just aren't going to vote because I am going to vote. The same thing would have happened in 2016. I would have voted for Bernie in the primary and Hillary in the general, but I wasn't registered because I thought I wasn't allowed to. I thought my autism disqualified me.
Oh, I have autism.
Yeah, well, police said that to me, that my status and my disability disqualified me from taking part in the political process. And apparently this rhetoric against disabled people is so pervasive, so widespread that entire grassroots organizations have sprung up just to spread the word to people like me that we can vote.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, Nick Anderson. So like a few weeks ago, we had Tim Tebow come do an autism like dance, and I'm thinking, all of us are not cripply disabled. Some of us are actually very independent. Most of the people that I know who have autism like I do, they still stay with their parents. But there's a lot of people who, like me and Nick and others, who are very independent, and we don't get we don't get really any love. You know, we're on the sidelines, and I'm like, why is Tim Tebow coming to coddle people who already have enough support as it is? And what I've noticed about Tim Tebow and Republicans like him is that when it comes to children, it's all about, they're just children. Like, don't give us any jobs, don't give us any means to succeed or be more than what we are. We're just children that need to just have our cheeks pulled, and and it's just, we're America's sweetheart. But I don't hear Tim Tebow or anything like, jobs. Like, I'm really into space. I want to work for the Kennedy Space Center, but I feel like no one's throwing me any opportunities to work out there. I've already went to school. I've already got my associates and stuff like that. But I feel like I want to do other things, and I'm just not getting the resources. Meanwhile, Tim T celebrity it just pisses me off when they do that. I don't need Tim Tebow to tell me how to live my life with autism. I don't need some conniving religious incel to tell me what I need to do with my autism. I'm sorry. I just don't need it. I don't need that shit.
I want to echo what Isaiah is saying. Tim Tebow is now in the Mets minor league system.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he has been for the last 3 seasons.
He couldn't make it in football, so he's going to try to make it swinging a bat.
And the thing is, if you look at his numbers, he's not good at all. And yet every spring they're like, oh, Tim Tebow got invited to spring training. Let's follow Tim Tebow around and suck his dick. He's a shitty.
So did Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay, so to be fair, there has been Bo Jackman. There has been
but Tim Tebow ain't no Bo Jackson.
True, exactly. But the interesting thing, going on on a tangent like this, is I think who was the football player for the Dallas Cowboys who also played a right fielder for the
Deion Sanders.
Is he advocated that parents who were focusing on just play this one sport? It's no, there's kind of merits to both sports. You learn different skills from different sports, and it's proven that if you can compete well at both sports, you can certainly play.
By the way,
as far as baseball goes. Tim Tebow isn't Deion Sanders. He's more like Bernie Sanders.
Oh, nice.
Oh, burn!
And
feel that burn, mother.
By the way, if you think that your God helps you with football games while other people are starving, you're an asshole.
Exactly.
You are a big fucking asshole.
And
if you think God stops and just helps you pick a football game, make a field goal, you are a major asshole, and fuck you.
I just want to shout out Alice in our private chat, who did make the inevitable diddly joke. Tim, you don't know diddly. So I was waiting for somebody to make that reference, and Alice, you did not let me down.
That's why Christian movies are so stupid, because it's always a football game. They need to make a field goal. And so, Jesus, help us with this. It's no. Jesus has more important things to do than help a bunch of rich white assholes take a fucking field goal.
I'll let the famine be. I have to help these guys out. I have to help these guys win the high school football game.
Oh, this was I'm sorry to interrupt. This was in Third Rock from the Suns, where Tommy, alien, just wait a minute, is our God better than that team's God? No. It's just we're both praying to the same God. We just hope that the God hears our prayers over the other team's prayers.
Is the other team is there a gay person on the other team, and that's why God doesn't give a shit about that team? What's going on?
And there's also the matter of the thing that Charlie Wilson brought up way back when he was, doing his thing with the Mujahideen. What happens when God is on both sides?
Ooh, good point.
There's Abraham Lincoln said we should be worried less about whether or not God is on our side than whether or not we are on God's side.
There you go.
Well,
if God was on both teams'
fault,
sides,
so.
if God was on both teams' sides, the game would just go on forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing too that I've been wanting to make a video about this for literally a decade, but at some point I will. But basically, I thought about this: if praying for something as mundane as a football game or baseball game actually worked, it would be cheating.
Yeah.
Because it basically means asking God to change what would otherwise be the otherwise inevitable outcome.
And we're looking at this.
Divine interference.
Well, praying is cheating anyhow because you're basically pissing in the wind of God's plan.
Well, right. Or God's a magician and he just grants wishes, which is actually blasphemous because, a lot of people, like The Craft, the movie The Craft, you bunch of witches, right? So is me wanting God to help me with a football game? Is he a magician? Is that magic?
Excuse me, when God does it, it's a miracle.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, they call it a white magic as opposed to black magic.
Yeah, exactly. What is the difference? There
one's
is
a
no
divine
difference.
spell, the other one's an arcane spell.
So there's just one other thing I want to bring up in response to something Joe said earlier about why people are tearing Biden down so hard. Like this is kind of a complicated answer, and it again needs to be put delicately. So look, there are some of us who can see that Biden is a target-rich environment. We can see the headlines already, the sorts of things that are going to be blasted on the airwaves. The Republicans are going to say nonstop, and basically we want the conversation for the rest of the year to be about healthcare, not about Burisma, not about Hunter Biden and, look at how corrupt the Bidens are and his cognitive decline and all this crap the Republicans are going to attack him with. But this takes you back to one of the most interesting cases, the Young Turks. I know a few people who blame TYT for 2016. They think that the TYT apparently handed Trump the election when, the way I see it, no, they're as guilty as somebody on the deck of the Titanic screaming that there's an iceberg coming and trying to warn people. They predicted how Trump could win despite all of the odds. And what do you know what happened? And then they got blamed for it. And now, those same people are pointing out Biden's problems. And just watch, if Biden loses to Trump, the rest of the media is going to turn right back around and blame the Young Turks again.
Hey, Nick, there's one difference I'm going to point out to there. There's a difference between saying, "Hey, there's an iceberg coming," and there's another in saying, and basically saying that, while we should be getting to the lifeboats, just keep telling us how bad the captain is because he didn't go up into the iceberg. And so, because the thing is, basically, once the nomination, because while there was still a contest, it's perfectly fair.
Yes.
Once the contest is decided, all that shit needs to stop, because don't hand your enemy a sword. That's really where I come from.
Right.
Oh yeah. Well, no, we would stop.
I have a lot.
It's just then to be fighting off the Republicans.
I've got a lot of problems with Bernie Sanders, and I've mentioned that before. But you know what? If Bernie Sanders somehow pulls it out and gets the nomination, he's the best fucking thing that ever existed to me. And I'm going to do everything I can. I will carry him to get.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're not going to keep pressing.
But I think that's another problem too. Cult of personality. Joe Biden is just a dude. But I also wish people would stop making comments of is he demented? Is he something don't criticize him for that. Criticize him for his lies or his outside lies. Don't criticize him for it. We can maybe laugh at the gas. I don't know. We had George Bush who's said if you fool me once and shame on you, fool me, you can't get fooled again. So it's
nuclear.
There's
nuclear. Pronounce it wrong.
It's a proud
Look, there's a misunderstanding here. If Biden becomes a nominee, yeah, of course I'm going to support him. I'm not going to keep pointing out those things. I'm basically saying, hey, here's what the Republicans are going to say for the rest of the year, and we're trying to warn about that.
Yeah,
that stuff's not going to go away.
TYT kept pushing it though, even after. So did Susan Sarandon and a few other people.
Yeah, there were people that. Well, the thing is, no matter who the nominee is, Trump and the Republicans are going to attack them viciously and to say things about them on probably an hourly basis that are just outrageously untrue. They did that to Hillary Clinton. They would have done that to Bernie if he had been the nominee in 2016 instead. I mean, I feel like there's this, to a certain extent, we're wasting energy when we argue for our preferred candidate by saying, well, if they nominate the other guy, then Trump's going to do this. Trump's going to do that no matter who the nominee is.
He's already calling Biden a radical leftist socialist, like he was going to call Bernie.
Yeah, meanwhile, the radical leftist socialists are like, what?
Exactly.
We were saying Obama.
I was just going to say, it's the same thing that happened to Obama, where the actual radical leftists were like, what? No, he's not. He's not over here. But like there were Republican commentators during the Obama presidency who were literally calling him a Stalinist. Not just a leftist, not just a communist, specifically a Stalinist. I have no idea how you get there, but they were saying it.
Well, also Obama's black, so he's got to be. He's got to be something.
He's got to be the worst thing. Yeah, exactly.
And as somebody who's actually studied Stalin, especially during the 30s, I mean, you don't get a whole lot more specious than that. One last point: whether you want to talk about Biden or Sanders, the blunt end of the stick. I mean, differences and problems with both candidates. Either one of them would be a quantum leap improvement over Donald John Trump.
I disagree. It's inches better, but not miles. But I already said that.
Well, did anyone want to vote for Marianne Williamson?
Richard Spencer does.
Who?
Marianne Williamson. That's the candidate that was the author that talked about the crystal balls on the Democratic nomination.
God, I haven't thought about her.
As a Mainer, I am going to do everyone a favor by voting Susan Collins out.
Oh, bless you.
Good for you. I mean, that woman is a blight on the Senate.
If we could get that, honestly, if we could get rid of Susan Collins and if Kentucky could get rid of Mitch, wouldn't that be just the sweetest?
I would celebrate getting rid of Mitch McConnell.
She's just that insufferable, old-timey, gosh golly shucks gee, why can't we all just play nice together?
As a Floridian, I'm going to get rid of Marco Rubio.
Now we're talking.
I don't get a chance to take a shot at Portman until 2022, but believe me, the gun's loaded.
Hang on, Joyce trying to get a word in.
Go ahead. There's two things. One thing about Collins is hilarious is that she's actually been deking us the whole time. She puts on the play that she's a moderate, but she's not. She never really has been. What they do is they strategically, because she's in a state that's not, a red state, they strategically let her vote in favor of some things when it has no consequence whatsoever. Either the vote's totally, blue, or the vote is, it's just barely going to fail. They like Lamar. The reason why Lamar Alexander voted not to impeach, because he's an old-time Republican. He hates Trump, but he voted because he's an but he voted not to impeach Trump. So she, at least not so much the final vote, but the earlier vote, he did that so she didn't have to. So this way she could try to pretend that she's, in the middle, and she's not.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about Obama, you talk about crazy stuff they said. People at the one time, they're both criticizing him for following a radical Christian preacher and being a Muslim at the same time.
Yeah.
That takes practice.
Well, back to the communist point, like Isaiah had mentioned, Obama, the communist by the right-wingers, the Tea Party and stuff like that. And yet, in this election cycle, or this primary cycle, Bernie Sanders, who calls himself a socialist, and we can talk about that a lot, I'm actually fine with him calling himself a socialist, because if people like what Bernie Sanders is about and thinks that that's what socialism is, and if they come into the Bernie camp or whatever, or that side of it, then I ask ourselves, you like what Bernie says about socialism? Well, let me tell you what socialism is really about. But along that lines as well, Bernie Sanders has said, I think Fidel Castro's I'm not agreeing with everything he's done. He's done some horrible things. But Fidel Castro's literacy program in Cuba was an amazing accomplishment as it in educated the youth of that Cuba and caused them to be literate. That's an amazing achievement. And they branded some in the media branded Bernie Sanders as the leftist radical, and Chris Matthews felt that he's going to be on the chopping block if Bernie Sanders gets elected president in Senator Square because of the Red Scare that's still pervasive.
That's still in their minds.
Yeah, it's still in their minds, unfortunately. And again, me as an actual anarchist, leftist, socialist, communist.
This isn't a. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Isaiah.
Yeah, no, I was saying Chris Matthews, I think likened Bernie's popularity to the fall of France by the Nazis.
Yeah, he apologized for that. He did apologize for that.
But here's the funny thing about it. This is what pissed me off about that whole thing, the kerfuffle about it, because he did not in any way equate Bernie to Nazis.
Right.
He didn't.
Okay.
And,
True. Yeah.
But people tried to turn it into, and basically it was weird because two different group of people. There were two extreme people. There was the people that, one wanted to discredit Chris Matthews and one wanted to discredit Bernie, and it was just no. What he was saying is it's basically saying I'm trying to think of a good example. But picture something from some movie where somebody totally whips the other side. He's basically saying he whipped that person the other person whipped it. It's an analogy. So in a way, in the same way that that the Nazis beat the French, because the French were on paper very strong and got their ass beat, and so he was equating it to that kind of victory.
It amounts to invoking Godwin's Law.
It was a feeling of loss that Chris Matthews experienced. So he was expressing that feeling of loss, equating to when Germany took over France in the World War. It wasn't equating Bernie Sanders, actual Jewish man, to the Nazis. And
to clear something up, though, look, what I'm about to say, I swear, despite what it sounds like, it is not to shit on Biden. It's not even to shit on Obama. It's just something I think some people are kind of naive about. A big part of the reason why Obama picked Biden wasn't because he thought Biden was good with black voters. It was to console all the bitter racist white people who are panicking that a black man with a Middle Eastern sounding name was going to be running their lives now. Mm-hmm. That was basically his saying no, it's okay. It's okay. No.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't
you have good old establishment Uncle Joe.
Are you really saying that Barack Obama didn't pick Joe Biden so that he could sew up the black vote?
I don't think that was ever the
a black man needs somebody else to sew up the black vote?
I am shocked.
Always. The black man needs a white man next to him, as always.
Well, as one of the few black people on the panel, I guess, we're also not a monolith either.
Right.
Sure.
Most black people are conservative. I'm not. I support gay marriage. I'm an atheist. I'm a futurist, but still an atheist. Mm-hmm. And so the thing about whenever I'm watching CNN, by the way, we're up to 2,292 deaths with the coronavirus. Just FYI. But whenever I watch CNN and they talk about the black vote, it's always we're just a bunch of flaming liberals, and we're not.
No, not at all.
Most of us are
religious,
financially conservative, religious, all of that. So so Fox News posts us as we're a bunch of rioting gangster people, in gangs and all that stuff, and then CNN just thinks we hate Trump. Actually, Trump got 8% Trump got 8% of the black vote. So, as a black man, I don't speak for my people. I know the only reason why that's so is because culturally, given slavery and racism, all that stuff, we've had to stick together as a tribe. But 13 million black people don't all speak alike. For example,
35.
I'm kind of in the white girls and all this stuff. So we're not a monolith. We there's a lot of conservative Republican, who live in the party, but they can't say that because they're going to be called sellouts. Stacey Dash, Dion back there is a Republican, and so she got called out, which I don't support. And people can believe what they want, but I'm just saying, as a black man, we're not we don't all vote the same. We just vote for people who have our interests. Although I've certainly seen many Democrats who I think just have lip service. Think of Hillary Clinton.
Lip service.
With super predators back in the 90s. Now, I don't know if she meant black people.
She didn't say black people. She said gang members.
Okay, well,
Actually, I want to address
predators.
I actually want to address that because a lot of people, because there's a lot of soft bigotry on the left. A lot of it.
True.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, some that not so soft on the left too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And what pissed me off a lot was when people said, "Oh, she said black people are super predators." I'm like, no, she actually never did. And you're actually speaking out of your own bias because when you think gang member, you think black person.
That's what's on the news.
Yeah.
That's on the look.
It's called dog whistle.
Right.
True.
Michael Moore's Bowling for Columbine showed it completely how, when we think of gang members, we think of black men and all that stuff, but we never think of like Tim McVeigh,
Proud Boys,
who came out of nowhere and did that bombing, and everyone just thought, this is Tim McVeigh, this is some white guy who could have been white on film. So
most mass shooters are white.
Yes, exactly. And there's been Adam Walfa as well.
You're not a terrorist unless you have some melanin, okay?
Yes, exactly. The Oklahoma City bombing, the local officials, the officials were seriously looking for a Muslim terrorist for the Oklahoma City bombing. And when it's Timothy McVeigh, they're like, oh.
The fuck?
Oh, no, that's not right.
You're like, the fuck?
Like Chris Rock said, I'm not afraid of Al Qaeda. I'm afraid of Al Cracker.
Great line.
There's actually was like Bad and Pomada, a great YouTuber, like leftist YouTuber, actually recently did like a video about how terrorists became a bad word, or how terrorism became a bad word. I'm going to link it into the live chat now, and then probably link it in the comment below after this hangout is done, because we're at the top of the hour. So I'll mention again, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, and is still in the live chat further up, Phoenix Rising 87, Phoenix, my friend, who's the channel Phoenix Rising 87, has probably needs $190 tomorrow, $190 tomorrow for a down payment on a low-income studio apartment that she can get. So the link is in the description below, as well as several different charity links. Share them around if you can't give. I know this is trying times, and this is going to be really trying, especially with the 3.3 million Americans have already filed for unemployment with the pandemic. But if you can if you can give a little money to either Phoenix or either Joanna, who's disabled, and this is trying times for disabled people, or to any of the other the charity links down below, people who lost their jobs, who lost their home, or have to make a back rent and anything like that. Please share them around. Give what you can. Choose whoever you want to give, and that's it for my pitches.
Yeah, can I just say I'm probably gonna I'm gonna mention this probably tomorrow night during my Facepalm 5 thing too. But shout out to anybody during this quarantine pandemic situation who has donated to somebody's GoFundMe or joined somebody's Patreon campaign, or bought a commission from an artist, or done some little tiny thing to help somebody out during this, because I mean people need that all the time, but especially during this, that's so super important. So anybody who's been able to do that, you really are my hero. So yeah, we've been going for an hour. I'm going to call this to a close.
Okay.
Cool.
Thanks for putting up with my autism, by the way.
Oh, it was
no problem.
Please, it was.
As though it showed, which it didn't.
Can I say?
I'll say your
Go
autism
ahead.
wasn't a problem. Is that your mic kept sliding against your skin, so we could hardly hear you sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
you using a lavalier or something, or what?
I would like to say Modest Needs is a great organization. They help a lot of people who are about to, one or two payments away from losing their house or car or whatever, or need a medical bill so that they don't fall behind on bills. But they only help people on that margin. If you are below that, you get no help from them. So look to those people who, through lack of economic privilege, generally because of lack of other privileges, people of minority groups who don't qualify for Modest Needs, who need help during this time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good message. Good message. Yeah, and any little tiny bit that you could do to help out anybody in need is especially appreciated during this craziness. but I mean, it's appreciated anytime, but especially now. So, all right.
Stevenson has one final point.
Yes.
Okay. So just real quick, you know, and along the same lines, as much as you're able to, you know, support local businesses. If we still have the shop, we still have to get goods in whenever possible. You know, because the big corporations, they got money to spare, they're going to be fine. But if you can frequent your local businesses as much as you can, you know, because remember, there's a family there, you're helping to support maybe several with their employees and stuff. My employees are continuing to work from home, and you know, there's no layoffs and no pay cuts or anything like that. And we're just gonna, you know, try to keep everybody going as best we can. You know, we're obviously not as efficient as we normally would be, but the good part about, you know, a job that involves mostly a lot of programming, you can do that anywhere. But as a small business owner myself, I'm very, you know, aware of you know, all the other small businesses out there that
Yeah.
I was going to support my favorite local Chinese family restaurant by just grabbing something to go, but turns out somebody got sick there, so they're temporarily closed.
I got a few more points to add, if I may.
Go for it.
No, I would say I like Joseph being a small business owner because like now that I know that business owners and I have the same opinions, I don't have to be so like biased towards corporate interests like I've always been. And second, even though I'm a custodian, I still want to work at the Kennedy Space Center. Just FYI.
Absolutely. They need custodians there just as much as anywhere else, right?
No, I mean like actually.
I know you want to have. You actually
okay.
want. I know.
Yeah.
It was a very poorly timed joke.
Yeah, I know. Well,
but,
and when you have to interact with your grocery clerks, your drive-through attendants, everything, be sweet,
thankful,
be kind, be
nice,
thankful, and be safe.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great note to end on. So that's what I'm going to do. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back in another month to do this again. I'll be back Monday night all by myself for Facepalm 5. You can watch that.
I'm going to get a better, some better microphone headphones, by the way, with a cord.
Ooh, there we go.
Ooh, retro.
Yeah.
Hey. Just make sure it's authentically 90s.
I'll try to find something at Five Below for you.
There you go. All right. All right, everybody.
Real high-tech stuff.
None of that corporate Beats nonsense.
Yeah, come on.
I never liked those headphones. I never liked them. You can end the show now, Steve.
I love the big bulky ones. They're so good.
Yeah. The
my
tin
ears
cans.
my ears feel super warm when I'm done, but I never have any issues.
until the sweat pulls around the.
And as the old guy here, I'm the one who cut his teeth. Anybody here remember the old Cost Pro 4 AA's?
No.
I mean, you want to talk about a headphone? There they were.
But the thing is, like those,
and they
like,
weighed a ton.
Okay. But those over the head bows, like in those kinds of things, I love the features of those things, I'm sure, and they're built to last, which is good than all the earbuds I had to like buy every single month or so. But they don't. But the overhead things don't work with my hats. Some of the hats I cannot wear with those over the head like bows, and so I want to wear my bloodborne like hunter hat. I want to wear my cowboy.
Did the stream end?
Yeah.
No, not yet.
Yeah. Geek.
I'm
Two
ending.
words. Earbuds.
Oh, does anyone want to wish me a happy 40th birthday?
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joe. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
And many more.
Wear them like this.
There you go. All right.
This stream was fun. I swear next time I will have less facial hair than Steve.
Oh. You already do.
Kidding around.
All right. I'm ending the stream now. Bye, everybody.
We're so